Well, Loki, episode 3. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it. Let's review it. Non-spoilers first, then a little bit of a warning, then we'll get into spoilers. Great episode. I'm really liking this show now. And this is coming from someone that watched the first episode and was like, don't care that much. Could be great, could be garbage. Didn't really care. This show is going from strength to strength. I do have some minor gripes with it. It's not perfect. No show's perfect. But on a whole, I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it, actually. And this dynamic between the two of them was not what I was expecting to happen. So, non-spoilers, what happens? Well, we pick up, obviously, where we left off. And I like that about this show. It's just episodic. You know, it is it's a series that could be a movie, basically, isn't it? That's basically what this is. And we pick up basically where we left off. Loki goes through the portal and chases after Sylvie. What's Sylvie doing? Well, it's pretty obvious, and it's not really a spoiler. It's pretty obvious she's going after the 3-time variant authority reptile, the Time Lords, basically. And he ruins her plan, so to speak, but also saves them both. And then they end up getting trapped on a planet. That's basically it, right? This episode is them getting to know one another, getting to learn one another, their sort of intricacies between the two of them, what makes each one tick. It was a good episode. Tom Hiddleston, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I can't remember the actress who's playing Sylvie, which is the Loki variant. Sophia Di Martino. I've not seen her in anything else. What has she been in? Flowers, Yesterday. Basic stuff, actually. She's not really been in anything. She was into the Badlands. That's it. Wow. This is surprising. This is pretty much one of her big breaks then. I think she'll end up getting quite a lot of work, actually, after this. I genuinely think this is great work from her. So, they end up getting on this planet. Obviously, it's about to, it's... They're not immediately chased. I'm trying to keep this as non-spoilery as possible. And it allows them the opportunity to discuss stuff with one another. I do distinctly get the impression that Sylvie... They're trying to play on the trope that Enchantress, Sylvie, is not a Loki, but also is a Loki. I think they're setting it up in a way that they could do the reveal that Sylvie is actually the comic version of Sylvie, right? Which is is a mortal, which Loki made think was Asgardian, gave her powers and things like this. Because there's some discussion about her backstory that sort of muddies the waters a little bit. So it was good, actually. It was really good. The set pieces were great. This set piece, especially, they haven't spent a lot of money on this set piece, on this planet. It wasn't huge set pieces. A lot of it's green screen. But the set pieces that were there were pretty well done. And I mean this as a compliment, but it actually reminded me a bit of a secret cinema. Which if you've ever been to in the UK, they're like these big events where you got to dress up and you basically participate in a live film version of a film, basically. And it did remind me a bit of that sort of, secret cinema vibe. But I mean that in the best way possible. The set pieces are believable because they're a little bit less polished. Because some of the set pieces, when you're just using a soundstage in the Marvel movies, are just it's obviously not real. Like, it's ridiculous. And you suspend your disbelief to the point of knowing it's not real, so you're like, yeah, who cares? Whereas they are actually interacting with pretty good sets here. And because they're less polished, I do appreciate it. What else can I say? Non-spoilers. It was good. I'm really genuinely looking forward to what keeps happening next on this show. Heavy recommendation from me. Heavy recommendation. And I think they managed to keep the balance of power between Loki and Sylvie pretty fair, actually. If you are oriented a certain way, you may think Sylvie is portrayed more powerful. If you're oriented another way, you may think Loki is portrayed more powerful. But I think they keep the balance pretty in check. And they each have their pros and their cons and how they ultimately end up actually needing one another. And I think that's good. I think it's interesting watching maybe two versions of a Loki interacting with one another. And their differences and how they could better one another. Because I think, I'm saying one another quite a lot, but I think that's ultimately what this show could end up being about, you know? How can they better one another? How can they come out being better individuals? I don't know. I could just be spewing absolute garbage and bollocks here, but I think that that's the potential offshoot sort of long-term narrative of this show. But I'm really excited for what comes next. It was a great episode. Really, really good episode. So we'll touch on spoilers now, because I do want to get into some of the bits which were surprising, but not majorly surprising. But I think they'll rile up a few people that, you know, are sort of inclined to be riled up that way. So here's your spoiler warning. I'll put an advert here. You get more time to bugger off. There you go. Right. Spoiler warning. So they end up going to a planet which is about to blow up. So they're, again, hiding in apocalypses. Which, like, that's not a spoiler. It was obvious. If the Time Variance Authority is not following them, where were they going to go? Obviously, they're going to go to an apocalypse. But it's the worst apocalypse that you could have chosen, apparently. A moon is about to blow up and crash land into this planet and destroy everyone. Literally everyone dies completely. The whole planet's gone. So they are screwed because the transport device has no power, and they need to get it powered up, basically. So it's their race against time to go and figure this thing out, and it's their journey across this planet, whilst also trying to get to know one another, figure out if they can trust one another. And there's some pretty big key reveals actually along the way. Side note: it's definitely Sylvie's plan just to kill the giant Time Lord lizard things, just kill them, just murder them. Which cool plan. But that's it. That's the only thing that she has planned. Interesting. Now, in going and figuring one another out and sort of, you know, helping one another, they get on this train and they start discussing their backstories. And this is where it really muddies the water, because Sylvie's like, I only remember flashes. Memories are like flashes now, and I'm like, if you know Sylvie's backstory, this could legitimately be the comic version of Sylvie, right? Where she is a mortal that's been given the powers of an immortal, a Loki, to think she's Asgardian. I do wonder if they're going to do that. Now, the thing that'll rile a few people up that are inclined that way will be the out-and-out statement that Loki, the dude Loki, has dated both men and women. I'm sure that'll rile a few people up. I don't particularly give a crap. In the comics, Loki is fairly, you know, gender fluid, to be perfectly honest. Has been a woman, has been a man, has been, you name it, whatever. I don't really care. It did feel a little bit forced, however, and I feel like that's the part which I think, you know, justified criticism should come in, you know, where she's like, oh, princesses or princes, and you're like, people don't speak like that, you know. Like you're sort of goading someone. It just felt a bit forced. And he said, you know, yeah, a bit of both, you could say. Which is fine. Like, who cares at the end of the day? Like, literally, who gives a crap? The forced delivery was the issue there. Could have come across a lot more natural. Could have been written better if you're going to go down that route. Write it better. Write it more respectful and appropriately. Now, from there, the interesting part is that we do learn now that the TVA are all made up of variants. They just don't know it yet. Because we open with Sylvie inside the head of that TVA guard, right? She's trying to get the information from the TVA guard about the Time Lords. I keep calling them Time Lords. It's probably not their name, but whatever. All I can think of is Doctor Who when I say that, but who cares? And it's in that we learn now, Sylvie says, well, they're all just humans. They're just variants like us. And he's like, what? I was told they were created at the dawn of time. And she's like, no, they're just variants like us. And he's like, yeah, but they don't know it. So you can start to piece together this grand master plan here, where all these variants are going to learn of who they are. Maybe they're going to get Morbius. It was Morbius, wasn't it, on their side? That's probably why he likes jet skis. You know, he used to do jet skis. So it'll be fascinating to see how this unfolds, but it's genuinely interesting. Now, they end the episode with some very good action, actually, and how it was choreographed was really, really good. So there's this certain shot where they're running through this village thing, and as they run through, a big explosion happens, and it knocks them back, but the camera moves with them. So the camera ends up on its side with the individuals, and then it comes up point of view, bird's eye view down, and then comes up with them. I thought that was really quite smart. I liked that. As action choreography goes for a Marvel movie or series, I think this is actually some of the better stuff. I genuinely think this is some of the better stuff that's come out of Marvel for a long time. You know, yes, it's not as polished as a Marvel movie, but it's more believable as a result, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying it now. What can I say? They've suckered me back in. So I hand it on over to you, ladies and gents. What do you think about this? Let me know down below in the comment section. If you're new here, please do hit subscribe. You stayed this long, you clearly enjoyed the video and the content. So do hit subscribe and do hit that like button on your way out. Ladies and gents, thank you all so much for watching. Take care.